In this video, you are going to learn how to add integers using the chip model. In order to do that, you first have to understand what the chips are and what they represent. So each chip has two sides to it. One side is positive, one side is negative. The chips that we use in class, like these, are very easy to use because they have the symbols on them, so you don't have to remember. But sometimes you're going to have chips that that don't have the symbols on them, so you need to remember that yellow always represents positive and red always represents negative. Something else you might see, instead of using the chips, are just open circle, which is positive, and then closed circle or shaded circle, which is negative. So I'm going to put yellow underneath this and red underneath here, just so that we can remember what each represents. Now, the next thing, hopefully you learned this last week when doing your opposite station, any positive integer and its opposite combine to make 0. So, because each opposite is equal distance from 0, they have a sum of 0. So I could have this, which is a positive 1, and a negative 1. This would be like me giving you $1 and then taking it back from you. You have nothing left. So any amount, any opposites will combine to make 0. So if I have this is positive 2 and this is negative 2, they will combine to make 0. And what these are called, if you have two opposites together, it's called a 0 pair. So 0 is just any number of opposites. So let's go ahead and try some examples so we can get used to this concept. I would like you to, with your chips, represent -3. Go ahead and pause the video and represent that on your own, and then you can play it to see if you got it correct. So you should have come up with -3. 3 red chips represent -3. Now, is there a way that we can represent -3 using both positive and negative chips? Go ahead, pause the video, see if you can come up with something, and then play it to see if you are correct. What you could have come up with is something like this. The reason this represents -3 as well is because, remember, if you have a positive and a negative, together they make 0. So this is -3, this is 0, so in total altogether they represent -3. You can add as many zeros and it does not change the value of the board. This is what we call this a chipboard. So we have 0, 0, 0. This still is -3. Let's try something different. I want you to see if you can represent 4 using both positive and negative chips. So go ahead and pause the video, see if you can come up with something. What you could have come up with is something like this. I used both positive and negative chips. This combines to make 0. You still have a value of +4. Is there any other way we could have done this? Well, yes, you can always add as many zeros as you'd like to, and it doesn't change the value of the chipboard. Okay, let's move into something a little more difficult. We're going to actually try our first example of adding. So we have, let's say, 2 plus -6. The first thing you do, you always represent each number that you're adding together first. So we have +2 and we have -6. Okay? The next step is always combine. If you have any 0 pairs that you can make, you want to go ahead and do that. So I have this can make a 0 pair. This makes a 0 pair. So what is the value of my chipboard when I'm left over? When I'm finished making zeros? So this is 0, and I have a value of negative 4. So in essence, 2 plus negative 6 gives me a value of negative 4. Okay, let's try another one. How about 3 plus negative 4? Go ahead and represent. We have positive 3. We have negative 4. We have 1, 2, 3 zero pairs, and negative 1 left over. So 3 plus negative 4 gives me a total value of negative 1. All right, let's try something totally different. How about we try negative 5 plus negative 3. So we have negative 5. We can get those out. We have negative 3. Now in this case, we don't have any zero pairs that we can create with it. So we have a total of negative 8. So the answer to this problem would simply be negative 8. That works the same if you have both positives. We have 4 plus 6. We should all know that that equals 10. So if your signs are the same when adding, your sum will have that same sign, and it will be the two combined. So you have 5 and 3, which is 8. Both of them are negative, so I have a negative symbol for my answer. Same way with positives.